now, which will be followed by one last panel, and then we're straight into wine tasting mode. Next person we've got on stage, maybe I'll mention that. I will just mention that latest update, because I'm sure, like everybody else in the room, I was wondering as well. Howard is apparently comfortable now in the hospital environment, having tests undertaken on him, so give you updates as well as when things progress on that, but at least that's some positivity. Okay, keynote number 5. Can I please welcome onto stage Yves Le Lostecque from Belgium. He's head of sport at the European Commission. And he'll be delivering a keynote for us all now in the room on the role of the EU sport policy in promoting European sport and building sustainable sport organisations.
Is it working? Yeah. In the last 5 years, I have been the head of the sport unit in the European Commission. Some people say it's the best job in the Commission. I believe it, because this is a combination of work and passion. So this is what I'm currently doing. As you will understand, I'm more involved in policy making rather than business, so I heard a lot of interesting information today. But my core business is really linked to all dimensions of sport, not only economy, business, but also sport as a tool for health, for well-being, sport as fun, simply sport for social inclusion, and all dimensions related to sport. I must say that I had today a particular interest of being with you, also because soon the Romanian presidency will come in a couple of months. Romania will lead the EU, will chair also council meeting, and of course the Commission will have a specific and in-depth cooperation with Romania. I will have a couple of other opportunities to come to Romania. It started yesterday, I must say, when I spent the whole day with the Romanian Minister for Sport in another opportunity in Belgrade. So we will have a lot to cooperate, and that's why it's really a pleasure for me to come here today. On a personal note, I must say that I also have a special connection with Romania, because I have been for 2 years a member of the Cabinet of Commissioner Leonard Orban, so the first ever Romanian commissioner in the EU. And vorbesc puțin limba romană și pot să fac o prezentare în limba romană, dar cred că este mai ușor în limba engleză. So, excuse me, so I will speak in English. I hope you understood what I said. I hope so. Otherwise, it's the fault of Brașov University. Okay, and my last point as an introduction will be to say that the aim of my presentation, the title is the role of EU sport policy in promoting European sport and building sustainable sport organization. This was my mandate. More generally, and also due to, I think, the time constraints, I will summarize it a little bit, and I will basically explain what we do at EU level in the field of sport and what can be the impact for you, for your activities, and so on. Okay, so this will be more or less what I will explain you. Don't be afraid, I will certainly not cover everything in detail, but I will first give a couple of information about the policy context in which we are, policy and legal context in which we are working in the EU, and then I will give some information about different fields in which we we are working, and you have the list here, EU work plan for sport, enhancing physical activity, and so on. And I will finish by the financial possibilities that we have. I will start with the basics. Sorry if this is a boring legal information, but this is very important because 15 years ago, the EU has no competence in the field of sport. I summarize, it's not exactly as simple as that, but the EU was doing nothing in the field of sport. And it was not, let's say, it's not a judgment, it's not a bad or fine, it's like that. The EU had no competence in the field of sport. Then there was a reform of the treaty, and we had the Lisbon Treaty, which was adopted, and which gave the competence to the EU in the field of sport. Now the EU has the right and the legitimacy to intervene in the field of sport. But this is what we name at EU level a soft competence. It's not like in agriculture or internal market or let's say more the core business of the EU. We don't rule, we don't harmonize, we don't adopt hard legislation. This is where more a field where we organize cooperation with member states and sport organizations, where we, let's say, support projects when there is an added value, when we share views, meet with ministers, promote. It's about coordination, supplementing, and supporting. This is the words of the treaty. And this is very important because in the field of sport, the basic competence remains to the member states. It's not up to the EU to rule. Romania has its own policy, France has its own sport policy. I used to receive visitors asking us, you should do this, you should do this, you should impose, 3 hours education, physical education in schools. You should rule on transfer of players, for instance. You should rule on ages, intermediaries, players, agents. These are things we cannot do in the field. So this is very important to have this in mind. Okay, so the rest of my, we'll receive later if it was. So, but basically to finish on this point, in 2009 we got a competence in the treaty, so Lisbon Treaty. On this base, the two things happened. First, we agreed with member states to have some policy objectives in common with member states, and then also we had thank you. I think it's me. And on this basis, we also had a program, so money budget to support sport. And this is basically what we do. First, we organize policy cooperation at EU level on subjects of common interest for sport organizations and for member states, and it can be match fixing, it can be doping, it can be fight against violence in sport, promotion of sport as a tool for health, it can be promotion of voluntariat, all these subjects. And on the other side, we just not only speak and deliver speeches, we also have some financial tool to help what we want to promote and to support what we want to promote. Basically, we finance projects of cooperation between sport organizations. I will now make some comments about one very important tool of cooperation at EU level concerning sport is the EU Work Plan for Sport. I told you that in Lisbon in 2009 everything changed. Now there is a EU competence in the field of sport. On this basis, the Commission, the institutions and the member states started to work together, and the way they cooperate was to adopt together an EU work plan for sport. 3 were adopted, one in 2011, the second one in 2014, the third one was just adopted last year, 2017. What is the EU work plan for sport? It's a sort of action plan for the 3 years to come, with objectives, with methods, and with priorities. Priorities, methods, and objectives. It is a shared responsibility between the Commission and Member States. Everybody has its task, and to show, for instance, what this new EU work plan for sport is about, the new action plan adopted in 2017. You see what are the priorities, and there are 3 of them. Integrity of sport, meaning a good governance, safeguarding of minors, specificity of sport, fight against corruption, match fixing, doping, and so on. We have an economic dimension of sport as a priority, which is something relatively new at EU level. And we have the subject of sport and society, and this is about promoting sport as a tool to fight social inclusions. Also, we do some work on coaches, dual career, education, and through sport. This is also new. Sport and health, environment a little bit, and sport diplomacy, and this is also a new subject, and this is precisely what we were discussing yesterday with Minister Bran in Belgrade. And one of our methods is to put in place expert groups. So, you know, ministers, they meet from time to time, but there are a lot of meetings more at technical level with member states and sport organizations, and we have regular meetings, for instance, on these 2 key topics, integrity, and we will have one soon in Palermo, Italy, and skills and human resources and development in sport, and we will have one also in November. And there, member states and the Commission meet, major sport organizations are invited, and we on a couple of orientations, guidelines, and things to implement. So I don't say more on the EU work plan for sport. I will cover briefly a couple of things that we are doing also. In the EU jargon, you will hear a lot about HEPA. HEPA is Health Enhancing Physical Activity. Basically, it's about promoting sport as a tool for health, and this is also a priority for member states, for all member states, because this is basically grassroots sport, and this is about the real nature of sport to, let's say, or one of the real natures of sport to contribute to health of people. Figures are not good in the EU. We regularly produce studies, what we call a Eurobarometer, every 4 or 5 years, and every 5 years we see that the situation is declining. There is no progress, there is no stagnation, there is a decline. And we have worrying figures with big difference between member states. Romania is not amongst the best, I must say. But this is not a surprise, because we know that the Nordic countries, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, are performing well. But precisely, there are a couple of very good pupils in Northern Europe, and for the rest of the countries there is a lot to do, and I know that ministers with the Commission are trying really to find, to improve this phenomenon through this Council recommendation, which is quoted here and that were implemented yearly, and also through the support for projects and the policy cooperation that was mentioned. One of the tools, which was also the subject of yesterday's meeting, that we have in order to promote the practice of sport activity is the European Week of Sport. Every year now, and because it's now we are in the 4th year, the European Commission coordinates the organization of the European Week of Sport from the 23rd to the 30th of September. This was created 4 years ago. The tool, there are 2 basic ideas that we had in mind when we invented this, and I remember very well let's say the decisive meeting in the office of the Commissioner a couple of years ago. The base idea was that first, it's not about communicating 1 week. It's really about trying, during this 1 week effort, to have long-term effect, to make people practice, go to sport clubs and so on. So we would like absolutely to avoid just a communication operation when it's just about taking pictures and communicating 1 week. This is not what we want. We want something in the long term, and we are waiting for studies, but it seems that the results are modest, but it seems that this operation has an impact. And also, we are very pleased, because at the beginning, you know, not everybody was convinced, do we need a European Week of Sport? All municipalities, all member states, all regions, sport organizations, they have their own operations, which are from time to time functioning very well. So there was a debate. And at the end, 27 member states out of 28 decided to join the Commission. A good signal for the success of this was precisely to have more or less member states. Let's imagine after 3 years, if 10 member states say, we're not interested in anymore, this is not working, this would not be a good signal. The good signal is that the last one, Sweden, joined. So now 28 member states are on board. More, we say, because they are the program countries of Erasmus. So de facto, till last year, there were 32 in the program countries of Erasmus, the program of the EU. Just Sweden, Norway is missing. And now we opened it yesterday, this year, but it was symbolized yesterday in Belgrade, to Eastern Partnership and Western Balkans region. The second thing important about this European Week is what is important is not what is happening in Brussels, certainly not, or even in Belgrade during conferences organized by the EU. What is important for us is what is happening in my small village in Bretagne, or I don't know, all regions or all cities in Europe. This is really what is at stake, not our conferences. So, in the 5 last minutes, I will just give a large overview of what we are doing. Commissioner Navracic, so responsible for sport, together with 2 commissioners, launched also last year at the very same period sort of action plan named the Tartu Call for a Healthy Lifestyle. And it's the Tartu Call has a duration of 2 years. It's also about taking commitments. The Commission has taken commitments in order to work, in order to promote the practice of sport and physical activity at EU level. We will measure, now 1 year has passed, we will measure in 1 year time, at the end of this Commission, by the way, at the end of the mandate of the Commissioners, what was the result reached. We also organize a couple of more, let's say, communication events, but going beyond communication. For instance, we have the Big Inclusive EU Sport Awards. This was created for the first time last year, and it was about promoting the best projects aiming at favoring social inclusion through sport. So it will be the second year this year. We will have a final event, and the nominees, the winners will be known on the 27th, 2018 in Brussels. And this is really a way, beyond our financing, to promote sport as a tool against social exclusion. And I will finish with the finance. As I told you, there is a lot of policy cooperation at all levels now in sport, on all subjects. So the negative face of sport, violence and so on, and match fixing, doping, all these subjects, and also promoting, but most importantly, promoting all the positive values of sport. But we consider that we must contribute, and I think all of you do it also at all your levels. We must all contribute to the positive image of sport and physical activity and to promote it. And this is what we want to do. We promote it through finances also. Our big program at EU level is the Erasmus Plus program. As you may be aware, Erasmus Plus is not only about education, it's only now about youth, training and sport. We have a small part in sport, but which is significant because we have the 265 million for 7 years, and with this we can finance projects of cooperation. By definition, they must be projects of cooperation having an international dimension. You need international partners. 5 for the collaborative partnerships, big projects up to 400,000 euros. 3 for small collaborative partnerships, 60,000 euros maximum. And also events, we can finance events. Just a little bit of EU propaganda, sorry for that. On the small collaborative partnerships, the success rate is of 50%. And we will have much more money next year. So if some of your organizations in the room have ideas, submit them. We are now in the position that all good projects concerning these small collaborative partnerships are selected. All good projects are selected. So really in sport, there are a number of possibilities, and some member states are clearly not benefiting enough from this. I was, for instance, I saw the results which were published 3 days ago. For this year, Bulgaria is very successful. France, my country, not at all. So it depends a lot also on the information which is done inside, but some member states, and this is the case of Romania, should have a careful look to these possibilities. The priorities, because I spoke about the nature of what we can do, but the priorities, they are very broad. They are very broad. We cover basically all the subjects, all the sports subjects. The only one, I would say, or the 2 only one which are not really covered by Erasmus Plus are everything which concerns economic or dimension of sport, because this is not the natural tool to promote such projects, and also environment. But for the rest, all subjects which I was mentioning are covered by our program. For the future, if you have an interest, have a look. Our call for proposal for next year should be published in October. So in 1 month it will be published, that's for sure. We will have every year have a sport info day in Brussels, beginning of the year, so it will be the 5th of February 2019. We will have much more financial possibilities than this year. This year, 45 million. Next year, 59 million. So we must have more projects. Otherwise, we will have to put money somewhere else. It will be a pity for sport. And you have here on the slide the repartition of the budget between the different possibilities. To finish, very last slide about another financial possibilities that we have, but this is not really your subject, but I mentioned it. Beyond Erasmus Plus, we have the possibility also to finance, thanks to the European Parliament, additional actions such as how to integrate refugees through sport, how to organize international mobility in the field of sport, and how to promote sport at municipal level. To conclude, I will say 2 things. First, this is a key period at EU level for sport and for everything, because we are negotiating the new programs for the future generation. So what will happen in sport in terms of money between 2021 and 2027 is decided now through proposal from the Commission and will be discussed in the Parliament and the Council. For the time being, for sport, the situation is very good because we propose the doubling of the budget for sport. This is the Commission's proposal. We are with education, we were the big winners, I would say, of this arbitration in terms of budget. But we clearly, sport is in a positive trend, knowing that legally we will remain in the same situation. Legally, it's not question about changing. Ministers, member states will remain the bosses in the field of sport, and we will just intervene when needed, when there is an undercurrent. And my this time very last comment, but I forgot it. It was not so important, but I think it's really to underline the spirit in which we are working in sport and in many areas. We are far away from the image, I think, of the Commission intervening everywhere in things where there is no need to intervene. In sport, it's the contrary.
Any questions from the floor for Yves?
Hello everybody, thank you for your presentation. My name is Victor Kirku from Bulgaria, and my company, Sports Management Bulgaria, did one of the projects we have in 2017, working with refugees. And actually we did a really good job with small kids in the refugee camps. And my question is, there is always 20% co-funding from your partners. Actually, there are social projects, and it's very difficult if you did the project in the refugee camp to find some other partners. Even the salaries of the team, they are not enough as a month to cover the co-funding, even if you work as a volunteers. Could you explain, are you planning to stop this kind of co-funding? Or because most of the European projects, they don't have co-funding. European Commission supports the whole, especially the Erasmus Plus. They support the whole project with the whole amount. And my second question is about the European Week of Sport. Do you have results? How sustainable is really this? You said that it's important for you, but do you have results? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. I will start answering the second one. When we negotiated the European Week of Sport in the Council, member states agreed and supported the Commission to do this under one condition, that we will evaluate it. We did it the first year, the second year, and the third year also. We said it's too early. Okay, we did our own evaluation. So the Commission evaluated itself in a way. So, but through questionnaires and to member states, organizations, and so on. But this gave already a good image. But for the first time this year, we think, and we started last year, we think that there is enough distance now to have a real serious evaluation. And this is what we did. And we will have, in a couple of weeks, October probably, a full evaluation of the European Week of Sport, not produced by the Commission, but produced by an external evaluator, which will tell us the truth, even maybe things which are not pleasant for us. But my feeling is that the evaluation will be positive, and also measure precisely these long-term effects. If you wait 1 month, you will have, I think, 70, 80 pages answering in detail in your questions and with the effect of the European Week of Sport. Now, concerning the co-financing, I think my answer will not fully satisfy you, because it's not our project to change this co-financing. Because our program functions like that, and we request some participation and involvement from our partners. We are aware that there is a difficulty, and I will tell you which one. At the very beginning of the program, some of our partners or Olympic movement, they told us your program is good, but it's not enough open to sport organization. First, because of this co-funding. Secondly, because 5 partners is not easy to find. And they said, organizations which are very successful in your call for proposal, they are NGOs, universities, but where are sport organizations? They are not benefiting enough from the program. And we changed the rules. We invented 2 years ago small collaborative partnerships. You remember from big projects are 400,000 euros, and on this you must fund 20%, and it's a lot for small organizations. We have invented the small collaborative partnerships where you just have to find 20% of 60,000, which is more accessible, much more accessible. Secondly, only 3 partners. Thirdly, we have simplified a little bit applications for it. And the result is that we see much more sport organizations now benefiting from our program. A very last answer to your question, this is Erasmus. And there is also a specific call for proposal concerning refugees, where there is one key element, is no international dimension. You don't need international dimension. Why? Because when this was put in place 2 years ago, we didn't want projects with, let's say, artificial international partenariat. What we wanted was things working on the ground. And work to integrate refugees through sport. You don't need necessarily to cooperate with France, Bulgaria, Spain. You need to do work on the ground. This is what was needed. And this is why we deleted this obligation of partnership, international partnership for this refugee dimension.
Thank you very much, Yves. Round of applause for everybody again, please.